This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina and Jack McKenzie. All right, just in case, Emery, come here. Get on camera with Jack. Just kind of snuggle up next to each other. I'm asking the chat room, would you have known which one is which?
I think they would have had to.
Yeah. Would they have known which one is which? That's just all I need to know. So, yeah. By the way, Alan says, you can tell Garrett loves Florida going to suffer. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely do.
Yeah.
It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I almost feel like I have to defend Florida in here because of you and Garrett.
Shut your mouth.
I mean, you might have to. And look, it doesn't help that I just got this shirt.
Just conveniently wore
It's a nice shirt.
I'm wearing it today. So, but black is supposed to be slimming. I don't know if it's really that slimming, but I'll say this. So the Jaden Rashada has sued BIlly Napier, Gator Collective, all these parts. And so to kind of put some finer points on this, BIlly Napier is named in the suit because he said that a Florida booster would wire him $1 million if he signed with the Gators on signing day. That did not happen. That same booster did give Jaden Rashada $150,000 to pay back the $150,000 that he got from John Ruiz of Life Wallet, who is the sugar daddy of the Miami Hurricanes NIL program, who everybody knows about and what he's been doing. So Jaden Rashada was initially committed to Miami, and according to the court filing, their agreement was between $9.5 and $10 million. Florida then came in and said, we'll take that 10 and raise it to 13. And so Jaden Rashada, because he was chasing the bag, it was not about what place is best for you. Because honestly, and this is no disrespect to the two rival programs of my school, but if you were really concerned about what's going to make you better, he would have been at Georgia then, which is where he is now. So he's technically been at 3 schools because he was at Florida for 2 weeks, and then this all went down, and then he went to Arizona State for a year, played a little last year, and now he's at Georgia where he will wait behind Carson Beck and then compete with the rest of the stable of thoroughbred QBs that they have. Mm-hmm. And I know this.
He will end up at another school before the end of this. I guarantee it. I'd put the mortgage on it.
Unless he wins the job next year at Georgia, then probably not. But, if he doesn't win that job at Georgia, then hello, next person. But he didn't get $10 million.
The answer to the Buckeyes' prayers.
Yeah, he didn't get $10 million at Arizona State. We know that. And he's probably not getting $10 million to be the backup at Georgia, but he knows that should he win that job, he'll be taken care of there. Plus extra salt in the wound for the Gators that this all has wound up cyclically at Georgia. And if you're asking, why did he just go back to Miami? Well, he not only burned that bridge, he straight up and down annihilated it. Just wiped it out not like a hurricane, but wiped it out. And so that was not going to happen. So now BIlly Napier, a college coach, is named in this suit because he allegedly made promises he could not keep. And this is everything bad about NIL. A guy chasing the money and only the money and, not really looking at what's best because let's say Georgia offered him $3 million. Mm-hmm. That's $3 million. It's 17 years old to be the future quarterback at Georgia. Mm-hmm. Now, he knows, like most people do, that desperation is a stinky cologne. And Florida, who is stuck in the mud, and Miami, who is stuck in the mud, have to go and get somebody that's going to, draw people into their program. Which, if I'm Cam Ward, and I've known all this, I probably did pretty well for my 1 year on campus. And DJ Lagway probably didn't do as well, but he still committed and went there. So this is everything bad about NIL. That's all rolled into one. Now, you cannot like Jaden Rashada for doing this and not like the fact that he and his father clearly had the plan to go where they could get the most money. And now I think he's actually kind of found out that, like, well, I need to be where I'm happy. And if I'm really good, the money will come. Like, and they're giving it to you anyway. But, you know, this is an absolute mess. Absolute mess. And it just, we don't know how the lawsuit's going to go, but for BIlly Napier, who already has to look down the barrel of the toughest schedule ever devised by man in any sport, I would say that this Florida schedule is the most difficult schedule that mankind could possibly come up with. And even I feel a little bad for them. A little bit. Not all that bad, but there's never been, like, Jack, can you think of a European soccer analogy to compare to Florida's schedule this year?
Going through the Champions League on top of all your other competitions, hitting, like, I don't know, Real, Barcelona, Bayern.
Does that ever happen?
Maybe. Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't know then. But, you know, do people get fired because of it?
Yes, they have incredibly fast coaches. The coaches don't even make it 4 years there.
Okay. Well, BIlly Napier might not either.
Like like Paul.
Yeah.
Manager turnover in European soccer is higher than college football.
Oh,
coach
so it's
turnover.
like hockey?
Yeah, more like hockey. Yeah.
And the NBA?
A little bit. I guess. I don't know.
They have more control than NBA coaches do.
Especially since if you're the coach of the Lakers.
Boy. I give myself 15 seconds on this. NBA coaching turnover is the dumbest thing ever because the coaches are like the third most in control party after the players and the GM. I don't know why the coach is the first to get blamed. Okay. There.
Yeah. You and Charles Barkley totally agree on that. So, but yeah,
back to Rashada.
But back to Rashada, this is everything that could be wrong about it. And this is why people were afraid of it. But ultimately, we knew that there was going to be at least one of those.
Yes. So I've got many questions. The first one off the top of my head is, and I know he and his dad don't think like this, but how little faith do you have to, like, subconsciously have in yourself to have to chase the bag before you've played a college down? How little faith that, like, you might be a 5-star, but you're not going to make the NFL, so you have to get the bag now.
I don't know if it's that, like that. I mean, that's a really good, deep psychological question, Chad. Like that is
like, I know we've seen players get devastating injuries and have no pro career from it. Like there is stuff there to be worried about. How little faith you have.
What I would worry about is it's very early in the NIL era. Like this is, you know, we're not even, if NIL was president, like right now we'd be talking about it getting reelected. Like, so it's only that, you know, it's not even to its second term yet. And I would be nervous if I was anybody involved in this. And, you know, you walk up to somebody, and this is never, I mean, they've never done it like this out in the open, but you say $10 million, and somebody says yes. I'd have been like, all right, I mean, like, I'll take it, and I hope that we get that. But then when you have somebody else that you say, well, you know, they gave me 10, if you can beat that, and then they just get desperate and say, yes, we can, then you start wondering, like, all right, this is too good to be true, because it absolutely, it was too good to be true. Like the fact that $13 million, the way they structured the payouts, and then when he goes to get his first check, he's like, hey, just noticed that didn't hit, and they're like, well, here's the funny thing, we thought we had this money, but then. And I do think here's the other thing that happens on behalf of collectors sometimes. You'll get one guy who's like, all right, well, I know I'm good for this much. I'm not going to pay the whole $13 million, but if I'm good for this much, let's say he's in for 25%. Like, I'm good for 25% of it. I'll round up the rest of the 75%. And then you call people up and they're like, how much now? How many touchdowns did you throw in for the actual Florida Gators and not high school in California? Oh, 0? Yeah. You know, call me again, like when he starts a game.
Yeah.
And we see how good he is. And then he's like, okay. And he's like, okay, well, instead of 13, how about I give you all the money in my wallet right now and this coupon to Chili's? Yeah. And Jaden Rashada is like, no, we have a signed contract that says 13. And so that's why he was let out of his national letter of intent, like, and he got to transfer.
As much as I have questions about Rashada and why the bag chasing and why the bridge burning and all of that with Miami, I think the question really has to be at Florida right now. And like I said, I don't like to rag on Florida as much as you guys, but you cannot go signing a contract that you do not know for certain you can fulfill. Like, there is no way in hell you should be signing a contract for $13 million with an unproven QB if you don't know that you can pay him that $13 million. Like, if a pro team did this, what would the consequences be?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is they're regulated. So, yeah, they
exactly
can do it. Yeah.
Like, I think that owner would actually be at risk of losing his team over something like that.
I'll tell you what did happen. So, the Rangers, when they were owned by Tom Hicks.
The Texas Rangers.
Yeah, the Texas Rangers, owned by Tom Hicks. They paid Alex Rodriguez a bunch of money. They paid all these people a lot of money. And then they traded Alex Rodriguez and all these things. And then he was going to finance that with the parking deals that he had all over the place. Well, those didn't really work out. Well, that was weird.
Yep.
And then, so those didn't work out. And so then the league for a couple years was subsidizing the Rangers to cover these salary things. And they basically were like, all right, you know, get this, once we get this in order, you're going to sell this team. And then Tom Hicks sold the team and somebody else took over because, again, they're like, listen, you are wealthy, but apparently you're not Major League Baseball owner wealthy. So,
yeah. So, in that vein, like, obviously, the regulations are not there. Control is not there right now. If this happened in the future, could we possibly start seeing donors get blacklisted, being like, you cannot be a part of collectives because you would not deliver, and it's making everyone look bad?
Yeah, no, I think so, and I think this is what they're going to try.
Could collectives as a whole get blackballed? Then a university has to start over, create a whole new collective.
Well, this is why they're trying to bring all that stuff in-house. And so they say, instead of donating to a collective, you can donate directly to the university. We'll distribute the money. And then NIL can be separate with like an agent or something like that, where the agent goes out and gets you money from companies and not from collectives. Mm-hmm. So that's what they want to do. You know, David K was here. Were you here on?
Yes.
You weren't here. Oh yeah, we're here when DK.
I was here for DK.
Yeah. So that's kind of what they would like to do, and we'll see what happens coming out of this. But it's going to be hard to see the courts deciding collectives can't exist, short of like, you know, federal regulation on what constitutes a collective.
So are we in like a weird middle ground where like we just will not see actual punishment outside of direct between parties legal repercussions here? Like,
yeah, I mean,
there will be no NCAA, no SEC kind of like, hey, you made us look bad.
Here's the thing. I think the NCAA can't really do anything about that because, you know, BIlly Napier was essentially following the rules. I mean, he could do all this stuff. I mean, I guess tangentially do all this stuff. Although him saying the $1 million, that one is, I'm sure, a violation. Mm-hmm. But there's not violations anymore. So
it was like the Will Wade move. Just put it out there.
Yeah, just put it out there. And so, I mean, again, if that winds up being true or corroborated in any way. And we'll see. I don't know. Like, I don't think BIlly Napier or any of the people want this to go to court. So it'll probably get settled. I don't know if, and it's already been publicly dragged through enough. And you know, I don't know. It's going to get settled. It's going to get settled, I would think. But the NCAA can't do anything. You know, legal ramifications, civil suits, like that's really the punishment here. And then ultimately, the most professional person that will get punished is ultimately BIlly Napier, who has this on top of the fact that, you know, they already weren't very good, and now they have the toughest schedule in the world.
I'm wondering, like, what could be some lasting consequences of this, like, for Florida, for Napier especially if he loses his job at Florida. Does a pending lawsuit affect his hiring somewhere else? Does the fact that the lawsuit alleges that he made a verbal promise about NIL funds that is a violation and he couldn't keep the promise, does that affect his hireability?
The person who gets hurt the most here is BIlly Napier. Like, no matter what happens, the person who is hurt the most here and has the most to lose is BIlly Napier. Jaden Rashada, the worst thing that's going to happen to him is, they settle for a number that's lower than what he wanted, and people think he's a bit of a dick because of this. Like, again, if you go on and Jaden Rashada could be the next big thing. If he goes on as the next big thing and people think he's a bit of a dick because he made a little bit of money, then all right. Well, I mean, I think that's a small price to pay.
I think Rashada gets hurt the least. I think Napier gets hurt the most. I think the second most is, if you're looking at it as parties, not people, Florida football.
Yeah.
I think Gator football is hurt by looking like they cannot deliver money they promise. They cannot deliver on their promises. You cannot trust what they say about their money, and you can't trust their donors to step up.
Yeah. So it's a bad thing. Like Florida and BIlly Napier are gonna get it the worst. The worst. There's probably some of that is deserved in this, getting out over your skis, and there's some of it that will just be because of the system, and they did it. I hope. And look, I promise you, this is not the only time this has probably happened. This is just the ugliest it got.
Yeah.
And to answer your question before, yes, the only way this could have happened the way it did was the situation being as ripe as it was for it between two desperate former powers and a guy who was ping-ponging them off each other.
All in the same state.
All in the same state. Now, I can tell you where else it could have happened would have been right here, given, if Steve Sarkisian wasn't at Texas, because he seems to have a handle on these things a lot better.
What you're saying is if this was Sumlin versus Strong.
Yes, if this was Sumlin versus Charlie Strong, two guys who did not have the kind of control of their programs or would not have control over the boosters, this could have easily happened between Texas and A&M. If Michigan and Ohio State weren't, juggernauts and gigantic financial machines that kind of know what they're doing, this could have very easily happened there. But if
they were schools that were in a spot where they might be big, but they have to pay to get that 5-star because they're not winning currently.
Yeah.
Ohio State and Michigan both winning right now. They don't have to pay.
And that's the thing, Georgia now gets him on the discount because basically I'm sure when he went to Georgia and got recruited there before, and same with Alabama, they're like, look, that's all well and good. This is how much money we have allotted for this position and for a guy like you, which is a lot of money. If you want to come here and be at the school that's winning, we absolutely want to have you. But if you want to start to get into a bidding war, look, this is kind of Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is like, look, we're not going to get into bidding wars. We're not going to do that. If somebody wants to be here and we're going to, we know, we feel we're competitive in the marketplace, which LSU I'm sure is.
Yes.
If we're competitive in the marketplace, then yeah, that's fine. But we're not going to, again, desperation is a stinky cologne. So the more desperate you get, Jaden Rashada was able to play Florida and Miami off each other. And they both learned the hard way of maybe if you just told him no, oh, the only way I'm going to come here. Well, basketball, one guy can make or break your whole season. And then quarterback in football is the closest you can come to that, except for the fact that if you've decided to do, if you put all this power in a 17-year-old kid's hand to save your program, I mean, that's a huge, ridiculous risk. And look, Arch Manning could have done this. He very easily could have done this. But he has parents that already, first of all, they're already insanely wealthy. Yeah. The Mannings as a family, very wealthy. So if something bad happened to Cooper, then, Arch is always going to be taken care of. It's not like he has to do this, And he also knows that I can being a Manning and the fact that NIL is legal now, when my time comes and somebody wants me to do something, I'll be able to do it no matter what. If Dr. Pepper wants to hire me, I'm Arch Manning. Okay, I'm going to be the guy. Jaden Rashada doesn't know that the same way, but you do kind of need to approach it the same way of if you are, like you said, Jack, if you're really as good as you think you are, those things are going to come to you and you've already got money. And I know that you're trying to make generational wealth, which $10 million or more is generational. And if you do that before you're 18, that's great. Good on you, and they've got a contract that they got to pay you, all that. Great. But you've also now found yourself in a situation where you played these two schools off each other. Now you're not at either of them, and now you're at your third one.
Yeah.
So, and you're not getting $13 million, you're not getting $10 million. Maybe one day you will in your life, but you're not getting it right now.
The last thing I will say about any of this, last thought I have is, so Napier's clearly the one hurt the most by this. If Rashada doesn't win this suit, or if they settle and it's done enough damage to Napier, and it's not been proven that he made that promise. It's he said, he said kind of stuff. Do we see a suit for defamation? Because he could be struggling to get another job because of this accusation that has not been proven that he made a promise that he couldn't keep.
Yeah.
Especially when he works in a field where promises and your word still mean a great deal.
Yeah.
So that's my last bit on this is we could see this stretching out years for something like that. Yeah. And that would be insane to see a college coach countersuing or whatever you will call it. I don't know what the technical term is for defamation at a recruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's certainly going to be that. It's certainly going to be that. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap it up. I need to tell a personal story and get this off my chest to the world before Craig, who will have no sympathy for me, comes on the air with me later.
Do we need to get dramatic lighting in here?
No, I got to tell you, it is getting harder and harder in this world to just get simple things done. And I had a moment where I literally went outside and screamed in my backyard.
We all need those.
Yeah, just because this was so unbelievably hard to do. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quick.